For this first simple pattern, they've referred to this as the zigzag pattern, the cloth stitch pattern, but basically what you're doing when you're moving your bobbins is you are weaving the threads over and under each other. And with the pattern, we're going to be creating a loom to do the weaving on. And this pattern has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 dots across the top. And it's a very simple pattern, so we only need 9 pairs of bobbins. So go ahead and wind your 9 pairs with just enough yardage to practice with, probably a couple of yards of the number 10 crochet cotton. If your pattern is smaller than this one, then choose whatever thread or the spacing on the pattern that you're going to be using. Some patterns that you buy will actually tell you how many bobbins are going to be hung on each one of these pins. It'll have a number 2 or number 1 or whatever, and so you would prepare your pattern accordingly. But I'm just going to stick 1 pin in each one of these holes, and I'm leaning them slightly toward the back because I'm going to be pulling in this direction. You don't want them straight up and down, because as you're working, that pin could start leaning forward and your lace, it'll change the size of your lace and the look of your lace, and it also, the threads will start riding up on the pins. So you want to angle your pins in whatever direction you're going to be pulling. Sometimes your patterns will call for support pins, that you start the pattern out on some pins that are outside of your pattern, and then as you start going forward in your pattern, then you would pull those support pins out. But just follow the directions for whatever pattern that you're using. I've prepared 9 pairs of these homemade bobbins that I made. I think these colors are going to show up really well on the video, and I believe this thicker thread is going to be easier for you to see. Right at first, you're just going to want to watch the bobbins so you can determine which way they're going. It's really hard filming this type of project or this type of technique, because you have to know in the patterns what these threads are doing, and you also need to know what the bobbins are doing. So it's a fine line of whether it's more important to film the bobbins or more important to film the threads. So we're going to try to do a little bit of both. And this crochet cotton wants to slip off of these bobbins, so it's not ideal, but it'll show up really well. So I'm hanging a pair of bobbins on each pin, and I'm trying to adjust them to where they're hanging at the same length to begin with. So these are a lot longer here, so I'm going to grab this little loop. You can grab it with a pin also if you want to, and just hold on to it, and I'm shortening it to where it's closer to the length of these other ones. Your tension will be a lot better if you start off with everything the same length, and you're going to be adjusting it quite a lot while you're doing your bobbin lace. You're going to be either shortening or lengthening these bobbins as you go. And as you're running out of bobbin, you're going to be pulling on this, and I'll show you that, to lengthen your bobbins too. So I know these are too long, so I'm going to shorten them. So I'm going to hang all of my bobbins, and I'm going to adjust the length, and then we'll get ready to start this first practice piece. All right, I've got my bobbins all hanging about the same length, and I'm going to be starting on the left, and this is going to be my worker pair, and these are going to be the passive pairs. Bobbin lace is really weaving, because these 2 threads are going to be woven over and under across all of these other bobbins. So I consider these the warp and this one the weft. And generally you're going to need more thread on your worker bobbins because they're going to be doing a lot of traveling through the other bobbins, and these are basically going to not need as much thread because they're just going to be going straight up and down on the pins. They're not going to be moving around. They're considered the passive pairs. Even though they do move, they stay in their position on this zigzag pattern. This is called the zigzag pattern, or it's called the cloth stitch. There's so many different things that it's called, so it can get confusing when you're following directions online. Different people call it different things, but I like to consider this my loom, and that I'm going to be weaving across. I'm going to get my pin cushion ready. You're going to want some long pins like this. You can get those corsage pins that are a lot longer, and you can pin your pin cushion down to your surface, or just have it handy somewhere. And I also use these pins if I've got the bobbins that roll around a lot. You can take these pins like this, and you can keep your bobbins from falling off the pillow, or you can also use these to mark your place or where to stop and start a certain pattern. So these kind of pins are good to have on hand. And so I'm going to move my passive pairs over, because you want to have a place to work with the two pairs. You're only working with 2 pairs at a time, but you want them to have plenty of room to move. So I'm moving the ones that I'm not using right now over to the right. And again, you're going to be only working with 2 pairs at a time. The first time I watched some bobbin lace videos where you had these people that were moving these bobbins up in their hands, and then they were dropping some and picking some up, and it was really hard to tell what they were doing. And I thought that bobbin lace was something that I never wanted to try. But really, if you think about it as only 2 pairs for this torchon lace, it's really not confusing at all if you just think about the 2 pairs that you're working with at one time. Now for now, our pairs are going to be staying together, meaning the yellow is going to stay with the yellow and the green is going to stay with the green. But if you do patterns that have only half stitch, your pairs are going to get messed up. So at some point in time, you're going to need to be concentrating on what's happening with the threads and not what's happening with the bobbins. But for the beginning, just stick to patterns that only have whole stitch or cloth stitch, and you won't get your pairs won't be getting messed up, and it'll be easy for you to understand what's going on. Keeping in mind that bobbin lace is very much like weaving, this is my loom, and I'm going to be passing these threads over and under all the rest of them, but it's not feasible or practical to try to pass these bobbins over and under all of these threads. You just wouldn't enjoy it at all. So by a sequence of using crosses and twists, we're going to be able to let these bobbins travel all the way to the other side without having to worry about the over and under of weaving. So to keep things less confusing, you'll find a bunch of videos online, and some people will refer to the whole stitch as being 2 half stitches. But I'm using 2 different books, and they both refer to the whole stitch as a cross twist cross, and the half stitch as a cross twist. So the cross is always left over right, and the twist is always right over left. So when you're looking at your bobbins, you're only looking at 2 pairs at a time. And when I say the cross is left over right, generally you're going to be taking 1 bobbin from the green pair or the other pair and crossing it over one of the bobbins from the opposite pair. And when you're doing a twist, it's always right over left, and generally you're going to be crossing over your mate the pair that is, or the bobbin that is the same color as whatever it is. So the twist is right over left, the cross is left over right. So when you do a half stitch, the two stands for you're twisting two pairs at one time. When you're doing the half stitch, you're going to be crossing and then you're going to be twisting two pairs. So if you stop at a half stitch, your pairs, their mate will no longer be beside them. So let's do a half stitch. It's going to be a cross, and you see my pairs are no longer together, and then I'm going to be twisting two. So if you stop there, your pairs are no longer together. So I'm going to undo that. So another way to look at this is these are numbered 1, 2, 3, 4. So to do the cross, I'm going to cross number 2 over number 3. And now they have new numbers. And then to do a twist, which is normally two pairs at one time, I'm going to twist these two, number 2 and number 4, to the left. And then to finish the whole stitch, I'm going to cross once more. And now my pairs are back together. So let me start over. All right. Here's my worker pair. This is the one that's going to be traveling through all the bobbins. It needs a lot more thread than the rest of them because it is going to be traveling through the rest. So here is the whole stitch again. Crossed, twist two pairs, cross, and that makes my whole stitch. Cross, twist, cross. And now my green pair has already been woven. You'll see it here. It's been woven inside, over and under this yellow pair. So I can tension it up and move it up. I can move this yellow pair out of the way. I can pull in another pair, and I'm going to go cross, twist, cross. I'm looking down. I'm making sure my pairs are still together. I can hold on to both of these and then tension that up. Move the orange pair out of the way, grab a new pair, cross, twist, cross. And again, when I say twist, I'm twisting two pairs. Crossing over one, twisting these two at the same time. That's a T2. And then cross. Move in a new pair. Cross, twist, cross. And that is your whole stitch, or it's often referred to as the cloth stitch. Now you see my green pair is already getting sharp because I've traveled through all these, so I can lengthen it by holding on to this thread and then just rolling it. Give me a little bit more. Pull in a new pair. I'm going to lengthen these a little bit. You'll see that quite often because of this thick thread. I'm going to be having to adjust it often. Cross, twist, cross, tension. And I see already I'm going to have to move my pin cushion. So I can slide all these over out of my way. And another thing I do when I'm doing other patterns is I always check, I call it checking the twist. I'll check and see that these are not twisted already. In some patterns, you're going to want there to already be a twist there, but we'll discuss that in the next video. But right now, I don't want there to be a twist. So when I bring in a new pair, I always check the twist. I always make sure that the pair is with the correct bobbins and I haven't bumped my pillow and this one is over here like that or whatever. I'll check my twist. I'll check my bobbins. It gets automatic later. It's something you'll just notice right away. So these I'm going to lengthen a little bit. I'm checking my twist, cross, twist, cross. Now I have made it completely to the other side, and you see I've already started a little woven piece here. Now you can tension once you get to the other side, and they call it stroking the bobbins. You just are kind of pulling down on your bobbins while you're tensioning. So, and the way you tension is going to depend on what type of bobbin or lace that you're doing. When I'm tensioning, this is a cloth stitch right here also. I tension this a little bit different. I pull my bobbins in a different way to create the shape that I want in that part. But for now, we're just going straight across, so I'm just going to tension it like that. It's time to put in a pin. So I'll take a pin and I'm putting it down in that hole and leaning it, and I'm putting it between this pair and this pair for the cloth stitch. Now I'm ready to go back in the other direction. So I'm going to lengthen out a little bit of this because I used up quite a bit of thread to get across. So now I'm still using 2 pairs, and I'm still doing the sequence in the same order. Even though I'm working from right to left, the stitch does not change. You're still going to be crossing 2 over 3, and these 2 pairs, 3 and 4, over 1 and 2. And then you're going to cross again. So let me do that again. See, my pin is open there. There's nothing covering the pin at this point. Cross, twist, cross. And then I'll just kind of stroke these down, hold them down gently. Don't pull it too tight. Tension that up. Move those bobbins out of the way. Grab a new pair. Lengthen it if you need to. Right now they're still moving because they haven't really been locked down up there, but you want to make sure that they're even. Cross, twist, cross. I'll tension my worker pair up there. This pattern, my worker stays the same throughout. Some patterns your worker will shift and not be the worker anymore, but you'll see that as the pattern. It's kind of fun to watch where your bobbins end up in other patterns. So it's cross, twist, cross, and then tension. Pull in a new pair, check your twist, cross, twist, cross, tension. Pull in a new pair, check your twist, cross, twist, cross, tension. Pull in a new pair, cross, twist, cross, tension. Let me lengthen this a little bit. Pull in a new pair, cross, twist, cross, tension. Pull in a new pair, check my twist, cross, twist, cross, tension. Now it's time to put in another pin because my worker has made it all the way back to the other side. I'm going to tilt that pin a little bit and check everything, make sure it's right, make sure all my pairs are still with their mates. I'm going to go ahead and lengthen the green worker pair and get ready to travel back to the other side. So you just keep practicing the hand movements till they become automatic for this whole stitch, and that is cross, twist, cross. And usually I won't say T2, but you know when you say twist, it's 2 pairs. There'll be times when the patterns will tell you just to twist a pair a couple of times and you're just twisting it on itself. But I don't want to get into that until we actually do a pattern that has that. So I'm going to work my way back to the other side. Pull in a new pair, check my twist, cross, twist, cross. This is getting a little short. Now this is not going to be a very stable pattern because we're not doing anything to the edges to stabilize it, but in probably the next couple of videos we'll get to how to do the foot side. What's called the foot side is this little this extra twists that are put in there that allows you to have this really firm edge, and it also allows this edge to be sewn to your fabric or whatever you're using this for in a project. cross, twist, cross. Made it to the other side, so I'm going to tension everything out. Going to add a pin. And I have made it to the other side. So practice this as far as you think you need. And then when you're done with your little sample, you can just take your bobbins with each other and tie a little knot to finish off your project. You're probably going to want to go to some length here, and then once you've tied off your bobbins and a couple of knots on each one, you can pull out all the pins and save your little sample.